Hey everyone. Today I'd like to dive into Monsters and Memories, an indie MMORPG currently in active development. Inspired heavily by classic MMOs like EverQuest, Monsters and Memories aims to deliver that nostalgic, social, and immersive experience of early MMOs. Right now, the game is in periodic alpha playtesting, giving players a unique opportunity to experience and shape its development. There's an active playtest going on right now through the end of this weekend, so let's start with how to install the game. Step one is creating your account. If you don't already have an account, you go to the website and click play, and it will prompt you to log in, but you can click this register button if you don't already have an account. Once you register or log in, then it will bring you to this download page where you can click here to download. Go ahead and download that installer. And then once it's downloaded, you can um, open the file in whatever zip file tool you use and extract these files somewhere. I've already done that. I put them on a folder on my C drive. Then you just run the launcher. Here, it will normally prompt you to log in. It's remembering my login. And then it'll verify the files and patch if necessary. You may have to click an update button to patch. But once that's done, you are ready to play Monsters and Memories. After you install the game and launch it, you'll be greeted with this screen where you can pick a server. If you like PvP, there is a PvP server. In PvP, you do drop items, I believe, and so I don't like PvP myself, so I'm going to be picking a standard server. I have a few characters already, but you'll need to create a new one if you haven't created one already. And there are a few options here. There is your race. The human can be all classes. The other races have some limitation on classes. Lots of options here, mostly cosmetic at the moment. There is likely to be racial abilities eventually, but right now, it's basically a cosmetic change. And there's a bunch of classes. Now, I recommend going to the Wikipedia. It's still a work in progress, but there is a lot of stuff on the Wikipedia, and it has a better description or categorization of the classes. So I'll have a link to this in the description, but once on it, you can look at classes here on the left, and you can see there are a few categories: elementalist and casters, healers called priests, melee and hybrid, and tanks. So the tanks are the ones meant to take the damage. Melee and hybrid, these are like physical damage dealers usually. Um, Healers and magical damage dealers. So elementalist does have a pet, so it can do some more soloing than a character without a pet does. Enchanter has the best mana regen and the best mesmerize to deal with ads. Necromancer also has a pet and does a lot of self damage and stuff like that. Wizard is your classic caster. Cleric is the classic healer. The druid gets early access to Spirit of the Wild, which is a movement speed buff that everybody likes. Shaman, I believe, also gets Spirit of the Wild relatively early, but I think the druid gets it earlier. You can click on each of these, and it will bring you to some information about it, including when they get all their spells. So if you really want to dig in and determine what you want to play, you can see all this. This isn't necessarily, they're making changes, so it isn't necessarily 100% up to date, but it's pretty good and gets you an idea at least. Um, Archer, ranged DPS. Bard, like a buffer DPS, has a lot of utility. Beastmaster also has a pet and is mostly melee DPS, although you can use a bow. Um, Monks get Feign Death, so they're good for being a puller. Ranger, I'm not 100% sure the difference between the Ranger and the Archer. I haven't really played them. I think Ranger is kind of melee and ranged versus the Archer being purely ranged. Rogues, classic backstab damaging class. Spellblade is a DPS that's like a melee DPS and a caster, and does still get a taunt, so it can kind of act as a tank sometimes, but doesn't have the best defenses. So a true tank is usually better. Fighter is your classic tank. Inquisitor is the um, like caster tank. Paladin is like a healer tank, and Shadow Knight is like a necromancer tank. So they're kind of all tanks that do slightly different things. Any of them are plenty good to be your main tank in whatever group you're doing. Once you've picked one of those, I'm going to uh, create a new character. I think I'm going to pick an Inquisitor, and we'll get started. So, Inquisitor. And we'll randomize my appearance until I get something. My hair doesn't need to be white. Sure. That looks good. Um, I don't know necessarily what to do. So you got, um, I'm not sure which stats are necessarily the best for this character, so I just put one on everything. Major combat, there's a bunch of options, and some of these depend on which race you've picked. Um, Depending on what you're doing, this one is kind of a tank one, so I might do a um, tank based major combat ability. Not being rooted, maybe that seems pretty decent. So I'm gonna do that. Minor combat, these are a little bit different. So maybe I want to do something that block increases faster, and you start with a different um, thing here. So yeah, let's do Shield Man. That sounds good. Major non-combat. So I'm gonna do Forage. Non-combat. This guy is going to be a jewel crafter. Miner. Yeah, we're gonna do miner. And then he'll also do jewel crafting. Well, jewel crafting I think is better. We'll do that. And then next, you could pick a faith. I'm gonna stick with agnostic, and you can pick a starting area. Certain people can start up here. I think most people can start here. This is the main. Night Harbor is the main city, so I'll create a character, and we'll log in with that character. The new player experience is not um, amazing. It doesn't really tell you how to do some of the things. So once we're in, first thing we're gonna do is get away from any enemies. Most of these aren't aggro, but they could be, and especially if they're fighting things and you get what is called a train, where people are running away from a bunch of mobs and they might run them past you. I've seen that happen before. It's not very common here. When you're here, first thing you gotta do is open your inventory and memorize your spells. In a lot of games, you can just right click, but you do have to open your spell book, and then you need to drop your spell into your spell book. That took me a while to figure out the first time, but once you figure it out, it's really not that big of a deal. This one won't let me install it, or not install it. Won't let me memorize it, and it's because it's an innate ability, something that you don't lose when you don't have your spell book on you. And so you do have to put it in the right place. I'm going to put Slippery on 0 to let me break out a root. I'm going to put Taunt on 2 and Purifying Blow on 1. So these abilities on the right are the ones that you use when you use your number key. I'm going to put my shield on that I started with. I did start with the Jewel Crafter's Kit, which is a bag and can hold your stuff. So I'll put my bag in there. And then you could start going out there and finding enemies to kill. You click on one, you hit C to con them, and if they are white, they're even level. Early on, even level is good. Later on, depending on how well your class does at um, soloing, you may need to fight blues, or you might be able to fight yellows. It really depends on how geared you are and which class you picked. But everybody starts with a note, which tells you where to go for your class quest. And so I'm going to run here. So they wait for arrival at the Spellbinder Spire in Sageside. And I think that is this tower here. So I'm heading that way. And then I need to go to the top. So okay, so now that I've made it all the way to the top, there is the guy that turned it in. The way quest turn-ins usually work is you have to give them an item of some sort to hand in. And that gave me some experience, and he's starting to talk to me. Now, there is no in-game quest log. There's no in-game chat history other than your log down here. So I'm reading in here, seeing what the next step is. And then I just do the next step. So this character is my Beastmaster. Currently I have my mining pick equipped, but let's switch over. Beastmasters at level 10 can dual wield, so that's what I'm doing. And then you come out here, and I have three main attacks. I got Fire Burst, which is a ranged damage attack spell. That is a low-level version of spells that other people get at higher levels, or at lower levels, and so it's really not very much damage. It's mainly just so that I can hit things at range without needing arrows. And then I turn on auto attack. Oh, George killed him. But yeah, I can just turn on auto attack and fight things with auto attack. I do have strike, which has a cooldown. When it's red, that means it's off cooldown and you can use it. And when it's gray, it means it's on cooldown. You can't use it. Yellow is a different type of spell. Yellow doesn't require a target. That's actually my summon, my minion ability. Other than that, you just find things, you con them. These are light green, so they're not giving me any XP, but then you fight them. If you are looking for a group, you could talk in OOC, and that's out of character. That'll talk to the entire zone, and you can say LFG and then whatever class you are. Or you could do /LFG, and it turns LFG on, and it'll turn on your LFG, which if you hit O, there's a group finder. You can see the groups out there, and ask them to join their group. So there's a lot of options. It's a very social game. Joining a guild can be a good idea. But yeah, you just run around, get XP, do quests, talk to people to see if they've got quests. Yeah, it's a classic EverQuest inspired MMO. So there's a lot to do. I'll dive more into trade skills later. When you're trying to make money, vendors only buy the kind of items that they sell. So if you talk to over here, there is a used armor trader. He will buy all armor. So I could sell my pieces of armor here that I'm not wearing. The locked one are things you're wearing to stop you from accidentally selling things you're wearing, but nothing else shows up here. So I can't sell everything to him. You know, I can go to the general goods guy. He has other things he wants to buy, but again, there are things I'm equipped, so it locks him out. But there are shady merchants. Shady merchants um, will buy anything, just about, but they buy them at a lower rate. So you can see he's got everything here that he'll buy. They'll buy them at a lower rate. Another thing about the game is anything that somebody sells to a merchant can be bought from that merchant. So this guy has chipped jacinth and chipped malachite and chipped onyx. All these things are things that were sold to this merchant, um, of which you can buy back. Now, some of these are part of the merchant's normal inventory. I think the lantern and lantern fur are normal inventory, which is why they don't have a number by them. One thing you can do early on is people will sell things to these guys, like these bows for 24 copper. And you can buy this bow here for 24 copper and run over to the weapons guy, which I think is right here, and sell the bow for 39 copper. So if people sell to the shady vendor, they're selling for so much lower that it is profitable to buy items from that vendor and find where they go, as long as they're not his normal inventory. So you got to kind of pay attention to that. His normal inventory will be above other vendor prices. But bows and stuff like that, weapons, armor that gets sold to that guy, you can make a small profit by shuffling them around. That brings up another point: is that your money, showing at the bottom of the screen here, doesn't auto convert. So right now you can see that I have 0 gold, 96 silver, and 2,658 copper. Money has weight, and so I'm currently near my weight limit. But if I go here, this banker, and I convert coins, now I'm significantly under because it converted everything up. Now I have a gold, 22 silver, and 58 copper. It's 100 to 1 on the way up. I've really been enjoying Monsters and Memories, but like any game, there are good and bad things. So, starting off with the good, due to the limited nature of its accessibility, that means that there are a lot of people on when it is available. So it's really easy to find groups, and most of those people are good and helpful. And if you've got questions, you can ask in the out of character chat, and they will likely get answered. Um, the game has a strong vision and direction, and they seem to be following it and going full steam ahead. Early access, full time available early access is planned to be first quarter of next year, and I'm really looking forward to that. Um, Grouping is a core concept of the game, and it really shines here. You can play with a full party, or you can find a place where you can duo. Soloing tends to be a little bit harder, but it is possible. But when I'm playing this kind of game, I'm looking for grouping, and so that is a good thing. But it has some challenges. The limited playtime availability currently means that you can't play when you have time. So if you happen to be busy when the servers are up, you don't get to play, and that sucks sometimes. Some of the classes aren't quite done yet, and so it really shows. I believe the Beastmaster that I've been playing only really has a couple abilities, and it can feel a little boring just turning on auto attack and hitting one button over and over again for most of the fight. Um, Other classes are more involved, and so and they're adding things to each class as it goes, so that isn't a permanent issue. Or if I get a little too bored, I can switch characters to a different class. The performance is good most of the time, and actually a lot better this playtest than it has been. But it is still in early access, and so it does still happen. There is a memory leak. I've had some friends that have needed to reboot their whole computer to get things to run smoothly again. Luckily, I've not really run into that issue, but some people have run into that issue. Overall, Monsters and Memories is shaping up to be an incredible MMO. especially if you enjoy classic gameplay and community-driven experiences. Thanks for hanging out. If you found this helpful, hit the like and subscribe for more videos like this or action RPGs like Path of Exile. And don't forget, I stream live most days over on Twitch. I'll have a link in the description. Have a good one.